All right, a lot going on in the world of the National Football League as everybody's kind of circling the draft coming up at the end of next month. You got the owners' meetings going on where Robert Kraft is saying that he is taking it very personally and was not happy with the way that the Dynasty, the Apple TV documentary, portrayed his organization's Super Bowl runs, despite the fact he was on it for all 10 episodes. Very prominently.
Didn't like the way that reality was portrayed, and then also
didn't like Bill Belichick getting thrown under the bus.
I mean,
it's like,
what about it?
Only you could have changed it.
Wasn't real.
All of the players saying that we were coached by Belichick, but we played for Tom. Well, I think that was pretty telling.
Did you just not want the unsaid things to be said there,
yeah.
Robbie?
They said them all out loud, buddy. Said them all out loud. But the NFL is actually conducting business down. It's in Orlando. We have Orlando is where these meetings are going on, not Boca or Miami. But we have a new kickoff in the NFL approved today.
We do.
The new kickoff.
There's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Yeah. Basically, if you are one of 15 people that watch the XFL, they're going to have the XFL kickoff now.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the kicker is on the minus 40-yard line. He is kicking the ball across the 50. Lined up on the plus 40-yard line, so on the other side of the 50, is the kick team.
20 yards away from the kicker.
That's right. Across from them are 9 return team defenders or offenders. They're lined up in a stagnant stance. You have 2 return men that are deep. There's this thing called like the landing zone, right? Where if the ball is caught in there, it must be returned. And that's like between the 20 and the goal line.
Yes. This
is to ensure that you have more returns across football.
Yeah, a part of the game that went away. The interesting thing about this, as we go through all of the explainers on this, this is a lot like learning football for the first time. This is like if you're British and you're like, explain this game to me, and then you start going down this list. Yeah. How absurd this kickoff is very, very absurd.
It really is.
But I get what they're doing, and I applaud it. Because they're bringing kickoffs back in the game. We just had a guy in Devin Hester make the Hall of Fame because of how impactful he was in the return game.
So kickers on the 35, kickoff team players, 10 of them will be on the 40. 9 members of the receiving team are in the setup zone between the 35 and 30-yard lines. 2 receivers in the landing zone between the goal line and the 20. Got that? Touchbacks now are more penal for the kicking team. They want to have returns. Touchbacks go to the 30-yard line now. Okay? Which I like that. I like that because it incentivizes the team to kick a returnable kick. Because when you're starting at the 40-yard line, okay, for your kick coverage team, you're saying, all right, go make a play before that 10-yard window. Right? I mean, so you're going to put it up in the air. Now, the kickoff team and those 9 players, they cannot move until the ball is either touched by a return man or the ball hits in the landing zone, so between the 20-yard line and the goal line.
Okay.
Right? I think what this will lead to, and what it has is less of the big collisions, so those 30-yard head start running collisions that you have. You have... but still incentivizing having a return as a viable option in the game.
Which has gone missing. But also, I'm still stuck on the fact that you said penal.
Yeah. Penalizes you, man.
Penal.
Playing the California Penal League.
There you go.
But this is whatever. Onside kicks are dead with this.
Yeah.
So onside kicks, you're going to have to declare, I declare an onside kick.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Nothing you can do there.
And in that, I thought with the possible changes for normal kickoffs, they were saying that they would, since you have to tell people that an onside kick is coming, they're going to revert back to old onside kick rules. Is that not, I mean, we could still see some other rule changes, but that's not happening?
I don't know.
I mean, the whole reason that we love watching that fourth quarter of an NFL game is because when a team is still down by 2 scores, they have that potential.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're also making it really hard to officiate games, but also easier too. Sky Judge, so the booth official, will have more power
yes.
on what he can step in and overrule in a short order, so we don't have to have a long drawn out review. It can be really quick in the air and be like, hey, you guys screwed that up. We need to
It was a catch.
Button this thing up. But also, I think what makes it really hard to officiate, the new swivel hip drop tackle rule, man.
The videos that they showed, good luck.
So
good luck.
If you don't know what the swivel hip drop tackle is, it's what injured they're using it in the video for teaching purposes. Mark Andrews tackle by Wilson of the Bengals. That's a really tough one.
It's unfortunate that Andrews got hurt, but you watch the clip. There's no other viable way for the defender to make the tackle.
But I think what we're doing is, we've seen this, and there's a reason why we're seeing more of the swivel hip drop tackles is because it took a cycle of players to go through Pop Warner football all the way up to professional before we saw the helmet to helmets really start falling dramatically. Yes. We have retrained football players how to tackle.
Yeah.
And basically what the hip drop you can do a hip drop tackle. It's the swivel part that they want out of it, because that's what injured like Tony Pollard, that injury. So what in the heads up tackling program, anybody that's coached or played football like in high school over the last like decade, you guys know the gator roll. This is something that they really started emphasizing. And what they want to get the gator roll out of the hip drop tackle. That's the swivel part of it. You're still able to tackle and wrap up a guy at the waist and fall down. It is when you do the gator roll over the top where that tackle gets really dangerous. And that is what they're going to penalize here.
But the flip side of this is, what the hell?
Yeah.
Look, I'm all for player safety. I am. But every one of these 1,750 dudes every single year knows what they signed up for. It is a violent, physical game that stuff can happen. And there is getting to the point of what the hell, how can you tackle somebody?
Well, it should be noted that the belief is, and we'll see a lot in the preseason and probably over the first couple of weeks, that you will see flags. But the way that this is going to be enforced is mostly through league letters and fines. And that's how they want to try to get it out of the game.
Because if you're putting flags on this stuff, there's so much gray area.
It will be a 15-yard penalty though, and that is when it does get called. It's not going to be. It's really difficult in real time to call this penalty.
So if a guy happens to do the hip drop tackle, but if he lets go at the right time and rolls over the top, but he doesn't have his fingers locked, like, this is the stupidity of the game that we're getting into now.
Yeah, it makes it really hard. It truly does. But you think of it, if you don't think of it as they're trying to, and it will be when flags start flying and 15-yarders get out there, it's going to be brutal. But we don't see nearly as many helmet-to-helmet penalties anymore, right?
Sure.
And that is because what the NFL wants to do, and this is the only way that you can do it, is they want to retrain players how to tackle and tackle safely. And so that's why they're doing this with the swivel hip drop tackle, is because this is how do you get guys to change in pro sports? You hit them in their pocketbook.
Yeah.
And that's where they're going to try to get this. Is it's going to take another cycle. It's going to be like 5 to 8 years before we really start seeing guys who have retrained themselves from high school football to when they get to college, and then eventually into the NFL before they finally figure it out and learn.
This feels like the NFL juicing offense even more.
But I think
that's what this is.
It's hard. And
they're
I don't think they're intentionally trying to juice NFL. I think they're listening to the players who have said, I would rather get hit high than low 10 times out of 10.
Which
and so this is where
they want guys leading with their shoulder again?
They're saying, I don't want to get like this tackle I don't like. it's impossible for officials. And this rule,
it's impossible for players.
I do not like one bit.
So you can't go high on a guy. You can't go low on a guy. So now you're just making it to where you got to square a guy up perfectly, and heaven forbid you come at any kind of angle. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
this is insanely stupid. I get that it could be a dangerous play. I understand it. It's a dangerous game.
It is.
Them's the breaks. It sucks.
Do they pass this rule and I know that there's former players that are complaining a lot. There's some current players, and mostly defenders, but do they pass this rule if players aren't complaining to the league about it?
Oh, I'm sure offensive players are complaining about it.
Well, a lot, yeah. And they're saying we're having more of these injuries occur annually because this is how they're tackling. If you don't look at it as they're trying to take it away from defense, they're trying to retrain the future generations to
that's
not
fine,
tackle like that.
But
it is punitive right now.
Yes, and not even that. Even going forward,
it is.
There's only so many ways you can tackle somebody.
Yeah.
You can't hit guys going across the middle anymore. You got to wait until they see you now. Heaven forbid your head doesn't get perfectly across somebody's chest. You can't go from the side. You can't go down low. Like, where the hell are you supposed to hit somebody?
And it's every time a star player goes down that we start to see rule changes discussed and then actually implemented. If this were like David Njoku week 2, that this happened to, would we care as much? No. Mark Andrews, one of the top 5, 6, 7 tight ends in the league. It's just kind of concerning to see, if it happens to this guy, whatever. But, if it happens to me, it's a problem. And I don't think we've seen that actually implemented equally across the league.
The NFL made their bed in this, and they react to it. This isn't as bad as the making pass interference reviewable.
Yeah.
Yikes.
It's not a great rule.
No. Their own videos they showed in three different clips. We both looked at it and went, "What the hell?"
And that's the thing. The Logan Wilson one on Mark Andrews.
There's nothing else he could have done.
By their description, which is wrapping up and then rolling over as you go limp with your body over the legs of a player, that is deemed the swivel hip drop.
Mm-hmm.
Logan Wilson wraps up with one arm, like he only has one arm around him. The other arm doesn't go around the waist of Mark Andrews.
It's right around his legs.
It goes to the same side. And so he only has one arm, and he just kind of rolls over the back of him. By the description of the rule, that doesn't fit what he did, yet it was on the teaching tape.
Because it was Mark Andrews getting hurt. That's why.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
But this is the world we live in, right? People are going to stop watching football, right? Isn't that how it goes now? We just stop watching football?
It's not that. It's just it's going to make the game. I like the player safety stuff. I get it. I know CTE and concussions. I understand it fully. But for the love of God, these people aren't dumb. They know what they signed up for.
Yep.
Quit trying to legislate their own malice out of the game.
Well, yeah, but that's the hard part is that they're just listening to their players too.
I don't think they're listening to all of them. I think they're listening to the guys on one side of the ball.
Well, the rules are passing overwhelmingly.
When was the last time a change was made in the NFL that benefited the defense? Find that one for me.
Well, when they took away the pass interference review rule.
Okay.
And then,
but that doesn't change the way the game is played.
I would say
this is changing the way the game is played.
Onside kick changed, but that it indirectly benefits the defense, but not really.
Yeah.
There has not been a rule change or an emphasis that has empowered the defense in a decade.
What rule would empower the defense that you could do? Think of that. Like, they're changing rules, and I'm not a big fan of the swivel hip tackle rule that they implemented. What do they need to change?